All right. We back in the building. We back in the building. The official Blue Devil, the home for my reactions. Now check this out. We got a video today coming from Vice. It is titled "How Sinaloa Became Mexico's Biggest Cartel: The War on Drogas." All right, now look. This is not a hood vlog. All right, I know we've been doing a lot of hood vlogs, but I want to venture off into other videos from all over the world. I read a comment that said, bro, you should do vlogs like on other countries. And that really sparked the interest. I said, let me go check some stuff out. Now, look, I see this, bro. It's messing with me. All right. I thought I went like this earlier and it was like a little pimple, bro. And now it's all. So don't look there, bro. But check this out. Leave your feelings at the door, bro. My door's over there or back there. Leave your feelings at the door. Right here, we checking out content. We're having a good time. We're being entertained and we're learning. Most importantly, we're learning. So if you're one of those that like to get offended for the smallest things, jet out, my boy, or put on your seatbelt because you're going to see some things and hear some things that might offend you. Now, look, I keep it clean on this channel. I don't disrespect nobody. I don't call nobody out their name. I don't do the most. And I'm starting not even to do that on my other page. All right. I sort of got to the point where I understand now we're all different. And everybody is going to feel how they feel. Even though I got an opinion and I might feel strong about it, the next people or the next person might not want to hear my opinion. So, again, I keep it to myself and I only speak on the content in front of me. So, salute to everybody. Salute to all the homies, wherever you come from, wherever you're from. Salute. We all got our struggles. And with that being said, hit the like. Let's get to 250 likes on this video. Let's get 200 comments, 250 likes. All right. And hit the subscribe button, bro. Every video we get about 50 to 100. Let's try to do 75 new subscribers from this video. All right. And if you got a video you want me to react to, leave it in the comments. I will get to it. And one other thing, we got a giveaway. When we got to 10,000 subscribers, I promise you guys a giveaway, and we will do it. I'm just trying to figure out what to do, what to give you guys. All right. We're going to have 3 winners. So with that being said, let's get to the content, bro. How Sinaloa became Mexico's biggest cartel, the war on drugs. Let's go.
In 2019, the Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was sentenced to life in prison after a decades-long effort to extradite him to the US to stand trial.
The long road that led Chapo Guzman from the mountains of Sinaloa to the courthouse behind us today was paved with death, drugs, and destruction.
Convicted Mexican drug lord El Chapo, a federal judge right here in New York City today, sentencing Joaquin Guzman to life in prison plus 30 years.
Listen, bro, growing up, El Chapo was a folklore. Okay, his story was so incredible when you were a kid growing up. I remember in the 90s, I spent a lot of years in Mexico, and we would hear his stories, bro. And I think it was 99 when he escaped from jail. Was it 99? Because I remember I had a CD, or 2001. Was it 2001? It was around that area. I had a CD from El As de la Sierra when it dropped. And there was a song in there, La Fuga del Chapo. And I remember being in Mexico, playing that CD and that song over and over and over again. You know, it was a great story, bro, the way he escaped and did all that. You know, and they have barely found him again. I think what they say, 2016? So he was on the run for a long time, bro.
Capture of El Chapo was hailed as the biggest apparent victory in the war on drugs since the fall of Pablo Escobar in 1993. Guzman had risen to power as the figurehead of the Sinaloa cartel, thought to be Mexico's and perhaps the world's biggest drug trafficking network. But what actually is the Sinaloa organized crime group?
Alguien se mata, por algo se mata alguien.
Puro Sinaloa.
This is how the biggest drug trafficking empire in the world operates, and why, despite all the millions of dollars spent capturing him, its power has only continued to grow since the fall of El Chapo.
Hey, bro, listen. Gangs, the cartel, I'm not going to stop it so much, I promise, all right? The cartel is like gangs, bro. Like a LA gang, like a San Francisco gang, like a IE gang. The only difference is that they got bigger toys to play with, right? They got bigger guns, they got more money, and they also have a mentality where it's like, we don't care. But it's similar to a gang, bro. It's similar, the cartel is similar to a gang. And also the playing field's a little bit different. In the States, of course, we're not doing certain things. We're not going against cops. Some people do, but we're not going against cops. We're not going to risk our freedom unless you want to be a crash out. In Mexico, it's sort of anything goes. But as far as like the structure, it's still a group of people that are breaking the law that are from one area, you know. So the backbone is similar. You feel me?
Drug smuggling in Mexico's Sinaloa state goes right back to the roots of the war on drugs itself. When the US first banned cocaine and heroin in 1914, it was farmers in Sinaloa who first spotted the new black market opportunity and began growing opium, a trade that continues to today.
Esta es la bola, la que da la goma, la que da la heroína.
Amapola.
Esta es se raya con una especie de navaja y por acá sale lo que es la heroína.
But it was America's cocaine explosion of the 19...
Por acá sale la esta.
Is that the plant they call amapola? I've never seen it, but I've always heard about it. But I've never seen it. Is that it?
Esta es se raya con una especie de navaja y por acá sale lo que es la heroína.
Heroin.
But it was America's cocaine explosion of the 1980s that fundamentally changed the Mexican drug trafficking business.
This is crack cocaine. It's as innocent looking as candy, but it's turning our cities into battle zones.
In 1985, the giant Guadalajara cartel was broken up into 3 smaller operations, based in Tijuana, Juarez, and Sinaloa, who immediately began violently competing for control of Mexico's drug trade. The Sinaloa cartel came under the broad control of El Chapo Guzman and Ismael El Mayo Zambada. But the Sinaloa groups always operated less as a rigidly organized command structure and more as a loose network of drug traffickers who can work together and collaborate as the situation demands.
O sea, hacen una vaca de los narcotraficantes aquí en Sinaloa, ofrecen un billete, juntan para tanto, sabe que va a llegar tanto día, tal día, por eso es muchísimo el dinero que viene. Entonces, a lo que tengo entendido, venían 50 kilos de fentanil ahí para distribuirlo todo el estado de Sinaloa.
You're talking about fentanyl. Now look, I understand cocaine. And I'm not going to say crack because crack is from the United States. I understand cocaine, marijuana, heroin. I understand those drugs. Like I get it, right? But one drug, bro, that I despise is fentanyl. That's one drug that I'm actually against. Now look, I'm not against the cocaine. It's a party drug. I know it's bad for you, but you know, it's one of those drugs where it's not really gonna kill you unless you want to die. If you consume too much, yeah, it's gonna kill you. But most people know their limits, right? Weed, you'll never die. Heroin, same thing. If you consume too much, you'll die. But you have to intentionally do it, or you have to be stupid, right? Because most people know their limits, like, damn, I already had too much or whatever, blah. The reason why I say this a lot, I've said this many times. The people that have died from cocaine have been like movie stars and like famous people, right? You've never really heard of a like nobody die off coke. And I'll tell you why. Even though they do, but you don't really hear about it. But I'll tell you why you don't hear about it. The regulars like me and you, we get an 8-ball for a party, 2 8-balls. We eventually run out of money, or the party's over, or we've had too much, whatever. But the reason that rich people die from drugs is because they got unlimited money and they don't know how to say no. Like they don't know when to stop. They got so much money, they do an 8-ball. Fuck, get another one. Get another one. Get another one. And eventually they die. But for a motherfucker like me, I get an 8-ball. Back in my day, I do an 8-ball at a party. And then at the end of the 8-ball, it's like, fuck, bro, I ain't got no more money. Fuck it. Let's go sleep it off. Bam. But a rich motherfucker ain't never gonna stop. Right? But back to the fentanyl, bro. That's one drug I am against. And the reason for being is because you could take this much and die. You can accidentally take that drug without knowing it's that drug and die. You can actually be trying to do a different drug, but it's laced with that drug, you're gonna die. So that's one drug that I'm really 1,000% against, bro. Lock all of them up, send them to prison, bury them under the jail. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Their structure is more complicated and perhaps more usable for adaptation than.
But all drugs are bad, kids. Don't do drugs.
The structure of other criminal groups. So the structure is one that, on the one hand, has clear lines of commands, but at the same time, there is enough flatness to it that losing a particular branch or particular segment of the network doesn't bring the whole organization under.
Sinaloa were able to use this highly adaptable entrepreneurial structure to outcompete and outlast rival criminal groups who challenged them. Perhaps the best example of this was when, in 2010, a new cartel called Los Zetas challenged.
Man, I hate those fools, bro. Them fools were sick, bro. I take it back. I don't hate them, bro. If they're watching, I don't hate them. You get what I'm saying, bro. Them fools were some sick puppies, bro.
The established trafficking groups, bringing almost paramilitary levels of violence to the Mexican drug war.
Los Zetas is a powerful and violent criminal syndicate in Mexico.
The cliche is plata o plomo. That is, silver, take the money, or plomo, take the lead.
That's Pablo.
The group was formed by soldiers who defected from the Mexican Army's elite air mobile special forces.
The Zetas military-style approach of seizing and holding territory allowed them to grow extremely fast, and for a time they even appeared to challenge Sinaloa's dominance. But the Sinaloa Federation had more established networks in international drug trafficking, and in the world of organized crime, nothing can compete with the profits from drugs.
We need to have the concerted effort of both the Mexican government and the U.S. government in recapturing Mr. Guzman.
There's no doubt that El Chapo is a fascinating figure. Born into a poor family in Sinaloa, he rose to control a drug trafficking empire estimated to turn over upwards of $3 billion a year. But it was a series of dramatic prison escapes, one involving a mile-long tunnel dug straight into his cell, that turned Chapo into a sort of Mexican folk hero, and the most important target for international narco enforcement.
This morning, a massive international manhunt for one of the world's most powerful and deadly drug trafficking kingpins is underway.
Oh, he paid his way out, bro. You know, he paid the right guards real quick, bro. That's what happened in, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, 2001. That's what happened in 2001, bro. You know, he paid some people just to look the other way. Boom. He a bad motherfucker, bro. You know what makes him a bad motherfucker, bro? A great leader? That he was in the trenches with his soldiers. That's what made El Chapo a likable guy. That's what made him, even though he a monster, you know, for doing what he does, you know, because kids die and drugs are bad for you. To those that are from the streets, he was a legend. And he was a legend because he was the type to be in the trenches with his soldiers, bro. You know. And Pablo Escobar was the same way.
This is the opening of the tunnel from which authorities say Joaquin El Chapo Guzman managed to escape from the Altiplano federal prison.
El Chapo became perhaps the world's most famous criminal. The fact that he twice escaped from prison, including maximum security prison in Mexico, clearly with the help of corrupt government officials.
And the third time when he went in through that tunnel at that motel, at that hotel, remember when he went through the underground sewage system? That if he would have got away that time, he would have been a fucking living legend if they would have never found him again, bro. Sick motherfucker, bro.
He was very purposeful in cultivating the Robin Hood image of bringing drugs to the gringos and bringing resources to poor communities. But of course, it is very rare that toppling, arresting, or killing the leader of a criminal group will bring down the drug trafficking network.
In fact, El Chapo's imprisonment changed almost nothing.
Facts.
For one thing, the Sinaloa cartel's co-founder, Ismael Zambada, who always kept a much lower profile than El Chapo, remains at large. And while there have been power struggles between various factions within the cartel, these don't seem to have affected their ability to traffic thousands of tons of drugs across the US border.
No cambió para nada. El narcotráfico nunca se va a acabar. Agarraron al Chapo, pero pues ya está otro. Y agarran a ese otro y hay otro. Esto no.
A huevo.
Y pues no, esto no tiene para cuándo.
Nunca se acaba ya, huevo. Otro y otro y
In 2019, when the Mexican army tried to arrest one of El Chapo's sons, the Sinaloa cartel took to the streets with military-grade equipment, effectively taking over the state capital, Culiacan, until the army backed down and released him.
I remember that, bro.
Violence paralyzed the streets of a Mexican city yesterday as security forces traded gunfire with heavily armed members of a drug cartel. The son of the notorious drug kingpin El Chapo was taken into custody, then let go.
The ability to calibrate violence to a...
I remember that one. It happened in 2022, maybe. I was here. They busted El Chapo's son, and they ended up cutting a deal and letting them go because the actual Sinaloa cartel, what they did was they took the city hostage. They started roadblocking shit with fire. They brought the guns with the Uzis on the back. What is those shit called? They're mounted guns on the trucks. The 50 cals. I mean, they were ready for action, bro. You know, so they cut a deal. They let El Chapo's son go. But it didn't really matter, bro, because they caught him. They caught him months later, a year later, I think they caught him. And right now, I think he. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's working with the cops, and he turned state evidence, bro. I believe so, bro.
Apply it when necessary, but not go over the top in the style of the Zetas, is also central to how the Sinaloa maintain their cash flow.
And the Sinaloa cartel, and under El Chapo's leadership, from the late 1980s, made the choice to rule through having support among local people. That yes, you will kill your rivals, but you are not going to shoot up a disco full of people in doing so. People will prefer brutality that's predictable and restrained to brutality that doesn't give anything back.
The crucial skill that set the Sinaloa Federation apart from other cartels is that while some were buying heavy weaponry, the Sinaloa cartel were buying politicians.
Do the police ever come by here?
Así han llegado a venir, pero solo pasan por caminos y uno ya mismo, pues muchas veces le da dinero uno, otra vez piden solo comida, otra vez quieren mujeres y eso.
The current mass bloodshed in the Mexican drug war originates in 2006, when the government launched an all-out war on the cartels. The man largely responsible for organizing that offensive was Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's Secretary of Public Security. In 2019, Garcia Luna was arrested in the US, accused of taking tens of millions of dollars in bribes directly from El Chapo, specifically to protect the Sinaloa cartel and target other traffickers.
Luna is accused of taking bribes from especially drug kingpin Juan El Chapo Guzman while providing protection for him. U.S. prosecutors say the bribes could be in the tens of millions of dollars.
So what does the immediate future look like for the Sinaloa cartel? They're incredibly effective at capitalizing on the opioid crisis in the US. expanding the supply of fentanyl brought over from China. At the same time, they're rumored to be expanding meth export and production in both Europe and Asia.
Since the transition post-Chapo, and innovate, they're in building networks, relations in East Asia with the triads, and now in competition with the triads in places like New Zealand and Australia, as well as in Africa.
Puede explotar, se usan líquidos y químicos sumamente peligrosos. Una explosión puede dañar a una persona, puede matar a una persona.
They in the jungle.
Porque te desmaya, te deja sin aliento, te ataca por la respiración.
Though they do face new competition in Mexico, particularly from the Jalisco New Generation cartel, it does look like that for all the fanfare around the capture of El Chapo, the Sinaloa cartel have adapted and will simply go on making billions.
I'm gonna try to see if I could find one on Los Zetas, bro. Them fools were devious, bro. The things that they will do is crazy. I knew they were Mexican, but they're not. They're not. Where are they from, bro? Where are they from? I don't know. I'm gonna research it. Hopefully, I could do one on them next. Listen, this is wild, bro. Like I said, don't do drugs, but it is what it is. Everybody's gonna do what they want, to each their own, bro. But Mexico is dangerous. Not all Mexico, and Mexico is only dangerous if you're part of that lifestyle. If you're not part of that lifestyle, bro, and you mind your business, you'll be all right. And with that being said, salute to everybody. Don't forget, let's get them likes. Hit the subscribe. And I got another video. This is a 9 a.m. drop. All right, I got another video at noon. I don't know about a 3 p.m. drop, but I do know I got a noon drop. So pull up for that one. 9 a.m. drop right here. And I also got a noon drop. With that being said, I'm Blue Devil. Salute to the squad. Salute to the homies. And I'm out. Let's go.